just carry on here, Coach, and let's move to our next quarterback on the list. We have the Minnesota Vikings, who took J.J. McCarthy at the 110 overall with a trade with the Jets. McCarthy this year has not played. He had the injury in the offseason. But, Coach, what's your thoughts on McCarthy? I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
Man, this is an interesting one. This one's even tougher than the Michael Penix one we talked about in the previous, video. When you think about Bo Nix, man, you think about how difficult. Not Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. You think about JJ McCarthy. Like this is hard. Like Sam Darnold has played so well, unlike Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been a roller coaster. Sam Darnold has been outstanding. Um, what's going to happen with Sam Darnold in Minnesota? I mean, does Minnesota open up the wallet and find a way to pay him? I don't think they can, but I think it's going to depend on how far he goes in the playoffs. Like, if the Vikings get in and the Vikings make a run, let's just say they make a run to the Super Bowl. You're telling me you're going to look at the fans in Minnesota and say we're just going to let this guy walk? Like, I don't know how you can do that. So this one's way more tricky to me than even the Michael Penix situation because Sam Darnold's no old guy. There's a lot of unknown here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, McCarthy just 21 years old, so he's super young. I know a lot of people critique his play at Michigan because they didn't necessarily throw the ball a lot, but when he did throw the ball, he was efficient and he was accurate. And that's something that I think could be really good in Minnesota because they typically have had a decent run game and they beat you over the middle with guys like Justin Jefferson. You've got big time playmakers there in Minnesota, like no denying that. And Sam Darnold has had an incredible year utilizing those playmakers. It's also great coaching. And I don't know how much of that falls on Sam Darnold and how much of it falls on Kevin O'Connell, but that's going to be the big test this year. Because, like you said, they're going to have to open the paybook and pay him. Because whoever is going to want Sam Darnold, they're going to pay. He's played really, really well, and he's proven that it's not really kind of a fluky couple of games where he stepped in. I mean, this team is in playoff contention, and they're 9-3, so they're right there competing for the NFC North. And I'm not sure a lot of us would have said that before when they signed Sam Darnold. He's definitely rehabilitated his career and kind of shown a new arc for himself. But on Keep Trade Cut right now, JJ McCarthy's quarterback 18, and his value is not too crazy. It's right there around Michael Penix, where it's a late first, couple seconds, depending on where those picks fall. Is that an investment that you would make, Coach, just like we talked about with Michael Penix?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk on. Like I said, the Sam Darnold thing makes me nervous. However, I do believe that if he gets to play, like he's going to play well because Kevin O'Connell is so good. Like I do believe that. Like I think if McCarthy plays next year with the weapons around him in Minnesota combined with the coaching that he gets, like I would look for him to be successful. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, if he could do it with Sam Darnold, he can do it with JJ McCarthy. Now, there's some truth to that. Now, Darnold has obviously made a lot more stops in the NFL and has been around the block compared to McCarthy. But that being said, I mean, I like McCarthy's outlook. I mean, he's definitely somebody I would stash. I don't know that I'd be willing to pay a first for him, though, right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd have a hard time paying a first. That might be what his value is, but I don't think you're going to find a willing buyer. If I could trade 2 late seconds, I'd absolutely do it. Um, if you got offered a guy like Bryce Young in a second or JJ McCarthy, where would you fall, Coach?
Man, that one gets trickier because Bryce Young's finally played a little better. But I really think I would
Mm-hmm.
roll the dice. I would probably roll the dice with McCarthy right now, especially
Yeah,
due to
I
the
think I
weapons
would
around
too.
him and the offense.
Yeah, I think that's okay to think about and okay to do, just because, like we've said, he's attached to great playmakers in Carolina. There's still a lot of question marks, and Bryce Young has played a lot better, but I'm not sure that a lot of the names that are floating around McCarthy's value are going to be players that you could necessarily tier up or tier down with. I mean, we're talking about guys who are going to be impactful in fantasy. Anthony Richardson, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield. Those are all the names that are right in between where JJ McCarthy's ranked on keep trade cut. And those are names that you have to kind of stop and think about. Am I competing? Am I rebuilding? The situation matters.
Yeah, I mean, it totally does. Like, to me, like if McCarthy played as good as he could possibly play, he's this year's version of Baker Mayfield. Like, to me, that's his sort of his ceiling. That's why I would prefer to have Baker Mayfield because of the known versus the unknown ultimately.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a lot there to really explore in this offseason. I mean, we're going to have to kind of see how it unfolds before we make that final investment. But yeah, JJ McCarthy for me is probably a hold, buy if I can afford it in a rebuild. Just kind of going to depend on what's happening